Everybody, Hobo4Craft, aka MrHobo here. We're gonna be having a StarCraft 2 Shoutcast today. It's going to be EG Idra versus none other than the Protoss player Squirtle, who really is just a very solid. I do believe he's a Korean player, and if I'm not mistaken, this replay is going to be from IEM. Now, I'm not positive about that. I do believe these two players were playing in the Intel Extreme Masters Cup, and this did come out around this time, so I'm just assuming here. But either way, it looks like we are going to be on Scrap Station. Supposedly a map favorite for Zerg, though Protoss can definitely do a lot of things to abuse this map, such as Forge Expand, throw down a pylon around this area, be able to block things off, and then from there, normally the Zerg would go Roaches. If he did that, the Protoss player could easily go for a nice Void Ray Phoenix type of play, and kind of manipulate the game in that way. But Zerg does have a good amount of space early on in the game. They will be able to stall a lot, really get up their expansion and their macro before the Protoss does commit. Sometimes we do see proxies, but it's in the Zerg's best interest, and normally they do tend to scout early on in the game. So I don't think Idra would be a player who would let that happen, because he's so used to dealing with all that cheese. I think most players just cheese him just because they know he hates it. I think Idra needs to start loving cheese more so he doesn't get cheesed. It's kind of a reverse psychology thing that he needs to start getting going. But it looks like Squirtle using his Chrono Boost very well, keeping it low, using it as soon as he gets to 25. And he's going to be getting that gateway, and that assembly will be going down following shortly after. And it looks like we did get a spawning pool first for Idra, so he's not going to get Metabolic Boost right away. We could even expect him to skip a good amount of Zerglings and just go for Roaches. Idra is a player who can really work with Roaches really well. You know, you see some Zerg players who can do Zerglings really well or Roaches really well, but you don't really see players who know how to use both very effectively, which is something that Idra really can do. He's good in the early game. He can macro really hard and get just enough drones out and just enough units to defend, which really amazes me when I do watch him play. And he really knows how to manipulate and just get that last drone in there. So he's really good in that manner. And it looks like he's going to wait till about 20. So he's going to get a little bit of a delayed expansion. Definitely very smart for all you Zerg players to get down your spawning pool first. Whether you get the gas first or not will depend on whether you want Metabolic Boost or not. But what this will allow you to do is, if your opponent does try to go for a quick gate against you, you'll be able to have your spawning pool. If he tries to throw down a pylon, you'll be able to get your Zerglings out much quicker. So it's definitely a good idea. And very smartly, Idra is going to be sending one of his first two drones to scout around for that probe, which normally, after scouting around here and staying around here, does tend to lurk around and try to wait to throw down a proxy pylon for later warp-ins from a gateway. Now, we are going to see that we did, in fact, get a Cybercore, and right away we did get that warp gate technology research for Squirtle, so it's about halfway done. And we do see 2 sentries on the way. We did get a pretty quick second gas, so we can only safely assume that he's going to be going for a 3-get expand here. In the meantime, it looks like Idra has planted his Overlord back here. Now, I don't know if this is quite lucky or if it's from experience that having Protoss players throw their tech back in their base. I do think he will see this gateway, and he'll definitely be intrigued and probably will try to get that down. Looks like he did make a second queen while this was building. Very good. Spread his creep and then took his queen down here, and he will be able to inject immediately. Just playing off his macro very well. Now, in the meantime, it looks like, yeah, it looks like we're getting up for an expand, so it is going to be a 3-gate expand indeed. We did, in fact, get these gateways in the back. I think Idra has noticed this, because he has had his Overlord just lurking there. And really, he's noticed this. You can see he's still just pumping out drones. Only now is he going to get a Roach Warren. So for all you Zerg players, do note, especially when you come over here and you see these type of gateway units, you're going to know that, yeah, with all these sentries, your opponent pretty much has to be going for a 3-get expand. Now, I was actually watching, whose stream was it? Oh, I think it was, oh, the name will come back to me. I was watching a stream last night where Protoss actually threw down the Nexus, waited for the Zerg to spot it, and then he canceled it. And then he just pushed out from there, and it was actually a really strong push. So that was definitely a very nice play, and Protoss can really, you know, they can play standard like this and be very successful, or they can really manipulate it and know how the Zerg works and just work from there. Because the Zerg has to play very reactionarily. They're always on the back foot, trying to work with whatever their opponent gives them. So if, as a Protoss or a Terran or even another Zerg player, if you can really understand that concept and know how the Zerg psyche works, you can really just start taking games in your favor very easily. And in the meantime, I've just been trying to think of who I was watching. It's definitely going to bother me. But Idra actually taking down his own rocks. So I debate whether I like this or not. I guess he doesn't want to get trapped over here. He wants to be able to attack from two fronts if his Protoss opponent does decide to come at him, I guess. Other than that, I'm not really sure why. Because a Protoss clumped up right there is going to be very dangerous, because he could definitely really use that choke very easily. And with force fields on the way as well. Looks like we tried to get somewhat of a hidden robo facility. Didn't quite work out. Idra, as soon as he gets his tech, he's going to be throwing down that Overseer, and that definitely paid off. He's going to get that Glio Reconstitution. That Roach speed is on the way. We're also going to get Burrow, which definitely works against force fields very well before that Observer does come out. So we could see somewhat of a timing push from Idra. However, we're not getting many Roaches popped. We are getting an Evo Chamber. So it looks like he's probably going to try for a little bit of a longer game, maybe try to get another Expo or two, and just try to reinforce his units with upgrades and pure numbers before he does move out, or try to make any sort of aggression. In the meantime, we're getting somewhat of the same strategy from our Protoss player. He's going to get +1 attack. He's doing a very good job of scouting with all these hallucinations. Definitely something that all Protosses should get in the habit of. Really, lower level Protoss tend to just want to stay back and just build a lot of warp gate units and not really react to what the Zerg is doing. And really, because of that, without all that scouting, you could just get overrun by, you know, who knows what, a massive roaches, and not have anything out of your robotics facility, no immortals or anything. So it's really important to try this, and we see that we are getting a Colossus out, and we already did get an Immortal out, I do believe. Yeah, here he is. Just looking up at the sky, having a good time. And in the meantime, we do have Idra making a little bit of a push, wants to just gain a little bit of territory, so he can probably come for an expansion pretty soon here. Now, just pumping out purely roaches. He's getting a Spire, and he will be throwing on his third base, which will be a second expansion, and he's also going to get a Hydra Den, so he really is just going to be ready for everything. I do think the Spire is just going to be for some Corruptors to be able to deal with the Colossi. From there, Hydras will be able to take over with their really high damage and not have to worry about the devastating effects of the Colossus on the Zerg army, especially good against light armor, which is exactly what we do see from the Hydralisk, and we're going to get those spines to be grooved right away. Groovy. Oh, that was terrible. I'm sorry. But it looks like we're going to get a little bit of a confrontation. Could this Immortal be taken out right away? It looks like, yeah. It actually just got stuck a little bit in between those force fields. I think only maybe 1 or 2 Zerglings were taken down. So that was definitely a very nice play. And, yeah, definitely worth just being aggressive. See Zergs. Really what you want to do is, even though you might want to stay back and try to just macro up, you do have to be aggressive with your army and at least try and take some of the ground, especially the Xalanaga in this case in the middle of the map, just so you can cut off any sort of aggression such as that. If we had seen Squirtle get a little better position, that might have turned out completely differently, especially with those force fields. So yeah, positioning really does take a huge play and part in this game, so make sure you're always aware of that. Looks like the Warp Prism did just take this probe to this pretty safe expansion over here. There's no way we can really see Idra take care of this. He does have a Spire, but it's only going to be pumping Corruptors, as we can see. He's getting +1 attack, and we're going to get Overlord Speed Pop just in a second. Now, in the meantime, we are getting air weapons, and we do we have 2 Stargates out? Yeah, no, looks like we only have 1, and it will be producing No, okay, yeah, we do have to. And we will see 2 Void Rays being pumped out. Late game Void Rays are just really devastating, especially against Corruptors. This really takes the focus away from the Colossus, which allows it to do much more damage against the ground army. And really, if the Void Rays can take out all the Corruptors, you are just golden because you will zap right through all of these roaches in the front line. Meanwhile, your Colossi will just zap through all these Hydralisks. So the Zerg is going to be hard pressed to have to deal with this composition. But oh, Idra, I guess at the last second he was able to get an Overlord over here, and he did block this expansion. This is actually a pretty huge play because 3 base Protoss is so deadly. Now we see that actually we're going to see that Idra's just expanding and his creep is just moving out, his bases are moving out. In the meantime, Squirtle is just pressed in his base and can't really move out at all. So this is actually a very nice play. Something seemingly just so minuscule actually really turns out to be a huge deal. And it looked like maybe an Overlord or 2 was killed because we did in fact see Idra red on supply, but it looks like a couple pylons are going to be here for being warped in. I think he does see that there's creep over here, yeah, so he's going to want to take care of that. And the Mutalisk is going to take out this pylon, though I don't know why he didn't just warp a Stalker in here or 2. He also has that Warp Prism, so he could have dropped a Stalker in there to be able to, you know, deal with that Overlord and get that 3rd base as quickly as possible. But it looks like he's just dedicating everything he has into this one army, which probably is going to be really the decider in this game, how well he can use that and how big of a chunk he can take away from Idra. He's really let him have 3 bases pretty far into the game. Protoss can run on 2 for quite a while, but they really do need that 3rd. They can't stay in the deficit for that long. Though he has, oh my gosh, he has a lot of Void Rays here. There's 10 Void Rays. That is huge. +1 air attack. They are going to rip through everything. I don't know if Idra knows this amount is on the field. He's really going to have to scout this quite soon. I would actually just sacrifice this Overlord. Well, he does see all these Void Ray beams, so I guess he would have somewhat of an idea. And he's going to get a little glimpse right there. He's going to have to react quickly. Looks like he's just making... I guess he's not making much. He's just upgrading. He is maxed right now. We actually are going to get a... Oh, I thought that was a Broodlord. That's actually an Overseer. Definitely a good idea. Try and take out... maybe if there's a Dark Templar. Protoss do like to use Dark Templar, but he's trying to come up. I don't really like that idea because it's at a choke. He's not going to be able to get... Oh, he's not going to have a good spread at all. He will have all of these force fields working against them. These Void Rays and Stalkers are just ripping through all of these Corruptors, and it looks like Squirtle is going to be able to move up slowly without any resistance from Idra. He's just getting ripped through at this point. It looks like we still, oh my gosh, do we still have 10 Void Rays? We have 11 Void Rays. I think Squirtle only lost 1 Void Ray throughout that whole thing. The Colossus did go down. It looks like a swarm of Zerglings and Hydras will come up, try to do as much as they can. It looks like we're going to get the Queen in here. Definitely some transfuse are going to be used. But is Idra going to be able to hold this off? That's the question. Go to the production tab. He's making even more Hydras. I think with the damage of these Hydras and with their +1 armor, they're going to be able to withhold this huge push, and I think he will be able to fend this off. Oh my gosh, this is absolutely amazing. I did not think Idra had any chance of dealing with that whatsoever. In the meantime, it looks like we're still warping in Stalkers and Zealots. We're going to get this one Void Ray. Just might take out this expansion. Would definitely be bad news for Idra. He does need this to keep map control and keep Squirtle hard pressed and behind in the macro game, but it looks like I don't think he's going to pick off 1, 2 Hydras. Could we see 3? No, it looks like he did take out 2. And looks like Hydra's now running on 4 base against Squirtle's 2. And really, he's in the lead when he was so close to losing just back then. Lost so many of his Corruptors. They didn't even do anything. Took out maybe 1 Void Ray, and Squirtle will call good game. Oh, wow. Very well played by Idra. Squirtle going for that push because he couldn't take his 3rd. Idra just using the map to his advantage very well there, and I think he played that quite well. His composition wasn't quite perfect when he lost everything, but not to be a fanboy or anything, but yeah, I do think he played that pretty well. Squirtle, definitely a formidable opponent, so definitely a really good game. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hobo4Craft signing out.